In this episode of Net Lease TV, Chris interviews Bret Fox of White Fox Development, and they discuss the 7-Elevens that Bret is developing and plans to market for sale. Chris and Bret also reminisce about his Walgreens developments and meeting at the Walgreens booth at ICSC in Las Vegas. Fox, welcome to Net Lease TV. It's Tuesday, September 29th, 2020. And it's great to have you on Net Lease TV. I know that we've talked quite extensively out at the Walgreens booth in the past at ICSC in Vegas. And so how's it going there in Utah?
It's going well. It's a beautiful day here in Park City, so can't complain about that at all.
Awesome. Yeah, you can't beat. So is that where you're at, Park City?
That's sort of based out of Park City.
During the winter, isn't it? I mean, are you skiing a lot during the winter instead of doing development?
Well, the ski resorts are supposed to open this winter, so we'll see if we really get some skiing in or not. Well, yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed.
Maybe I'll jump a plane and come up there to see you and just go skiing.
Come on up and we'll go skiing. Yeah. That'll be more fun than meeting at the Walgreens booth. You know, if we can't go to ICSC, we might as well meet on the ski slope, right?
For sure. Now, I financed the Whole Foods there many years ago, and maybe that was one of yours. I don't know. It's like a wood building. It's a Whole Foods. Do you know it?
No. So it's funny. Although I live here, I have not done any development nearby in my own neighborhood.
Okay. Well, when you go to that wood textured Whole Foods, just know that. And I got that deal from a developer out at ICSC. It's been so many years. Right. I don't even remember his name, but I did finance that many, many years ago.
I want my Net Lease TV! I want Net Lease TV! My Net Lease TV! Net Lease TV!
So I know, Bret, you've been pretty extensive in the Walgreens area. Are you still doing any build-to-suit Walgreens transactions?
And I've not done any build-to-suits yet. I think for Walgreens, I think the last store I did for Walgreens was back in 2012. And after that, they really slowed down their expansion. They're doing a lot of relocation, remodels, combining the best of some of their Rite Aids and Walgreens and that kind of thing. But so haven't done that for a while. That you're right. We were doing a lot of that for 2002 through 2012. Yeah.
Did you, I'm trying to remember, I dealt with Bob over there. Now he's with Aspen Dental, I think it is, Bob Roscoe. And then we dealt with Rob Silverman. We're still dealing with Rich Steiner.
Oh, okay.
I just did one again, if you can believe that. I did a Walgreens in Miami, and we did a cash out refi. So same players, different times, same players. We dealt with Rich, and we dealt with Deborah on the SNDA and the Estoppel. Have you dealt with Yvette Flores, my attorney? She's nice.
No, haven't met. I think you've introduced me though, but haven't met with her either. So yeah, we did the Walgreens for a long time, and then sort of when they stopped or slowed down their expansion, I should say, moved. Now I've been doing really the convenience store portion of that. So I've been developing 7-Eleven, same sort of size property, about 1.5 acres on good corners, signalized intersections, good access. So a lot of the same concepts, except for instead of a pharmacy in the back, 7-Eleven's got fuel in the front.
Have you heard anything on the acquisition of the Marathon Petroleum Speedway acquisition of the 3,900 stores?
They're excited about that. I have not heard much about the details, but they are very excited about that. So
$21 billion acquisition. They got 3,900 stores, and they have 9,800 stores in Canada and U.S. And then they bought out another chain before that, 1,000 additional stores. So we're really excited about 7-Eleven, AA- rated credit, as you may know. And for 1031 buyers, it's a really good opportunity to get into a property that, during COVID, I think 7-Eleven single tenant convenience and gas has really done well. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree with that. So been lucky enough to work with them. They were considered an essential business during the COVID epidemic or continue to be, and their sales are up this year because of that. So they're a good company to work with, and one of the I don't know, we're lucky to have the coworkers that I work with. We're lucky to deal with some good clients like 7-Eleven, Starbucks, some of the fast food restaurants that actually have performed well during the COVID. So lucky, feel blessed for that.
So are you strictly just doing 7-Eleven build-to-suits? Are you doing ground leases? Are you working with any other tenants? And are you the local area developer in your area for 7-Eleven, or are you just bringing them sites? How have you worked with 7-Eleven and other tenants as of late, Bret?
Hi, this is Chris Marabella with Marabella Commercial Finance. Need an acquisition, refinance, cash out, take out of a construction loan? We have 23 years of experience, smooth processing that'll give you and your clients peace of mind. Give me a ring at 760-479-0800.
For 7-Eleven, really, I'm partnering up with Jay White as White Fox Development, and we are one of 3 preferred developers for 7-Eleven in Oregon, and one of 4 preferred developers for 7-Eleven in Washington. And so most of the work we're doing for 7-Eleven is in Oregon and Washington, and it's a team effort. I mean, we bring some sites to them. They give us some direction on areas or towns or that they'd like to be in, and they're aggressively growing throughout the Northwest. So
didn't I call you on a Starbucks?
You did call me on a Starbucks deal, and we're also lucky enough to deal with Starbucks. That's another very good client of ours, and the Starbucks people are great. Work with, I think, 4 different real estate managers with Starbucks and their boss Carrie, and really they've got the team effort there. They've also done well during COVID, and so I enjoy working with those folks. Also, glad to see you showing the brand there.
I'm a Starbucks addict. Okay, I'm a real coffee addict. I go there at least once a day, so they got a loyal consumer off me, Bret.
Yeah, you and me both. So
it's amazing how fast they went, in 20 years to be this behemoth, huge, domineering retail single tenant fast food. I mean, it really amazes me when I think of, anywhere in the world now there's Starbucks. Even in Italy, it's kind of gone round circle where coffee was from. They're a dominant force in, different cities in Italy, Milan, Rome. The Italians are going there more than some of their own coffee, which is really remarkable.
Which is really interesting. You're right, because the espresso machines, I don't know about the automatic ones they use now a lot, but really the original espresso machines that the baristas, make their own coffee in, they got to tamp it, they got to do you're right, they're all made in Italy, and that's what Starbucks perfected. And so, it's incredible to take that and worldwide with their concept, delivery.
Their quality's A+, right? When I go into Starbucks, it's clean. The employees are nice. They're friendly. I've never had a bad experience in a Starbucks. They really do a great job training their people. I say A+, and their architecture, they come up with some cool designs. So tell us a little bit about the 7-Eleven and you're marketing that, right? You're currently marketing. Who's your agent again? You're dealing with Capital Pacific.
Capital Pacific, Sean Mack. We work with Sean Tufts a little bit, but normally Sean Mack is our main contact for J&I, and he sells or is our main agent for marketing the commercial properties that we'd like to sell. So whether it's a Starbucks, fast food restaurant like Sonic, Wendy's, Starbucks, 7-Eleven, Sean's our go-to guy. So
what do you look for in a listing agent? Like, what are the attributes that you kind of look for in a listing agent? If you have any that just kind of off the top of your head. I've always wondered, what do developers look for? Do they want somebody that's good at selling? communicates well, has a lot of buyers. What kind of comes to your head as far as good attributes for a listing agent?
Well, obviously they got to be a good salesperson. You know,
Okay,
he or she's
that's
got
kinda
to
number
be a good salesperson, and that can be different styles. I mean, when I talk to salespeople that work in commercial real estate or really other fields, you know, I want to see, and I'm working with them. I want to see that they're motivated, that they can sell, they can close. And that's a balance of things. So some of them have different talents or techniques, because some of them are excellent closers, but they might not be good listeners. Others are better listeners. There are some salespeople that maybe need to listen more. So we're looking for a good salesperson that can take advantage of he or she's attribute and get the deal done. They also have to have contact to the buyer's sort of golden, you know, they've got to have access to a pool of buyers, so to speak. So I think that there's some, you know, some real estate leasing agents that I work with occasionally that are great at leasing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're good at selling a triple net property, because a leasing agent may know their local market, their local city very, very well, have a good feel for how much the lease rates they can get, you know, what's the terms that are reasonable, that kind of thing. But then when you're selling a product, you really want it going out at least regionally. I think that occasionally we've had a buyer come out of the Midwest or the East Coast, but I think generally they're up and down the Western United States, and California, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, Texas. So I've seen buyers from throughout the West, and you've got to have an agent that's able to reach out and contact those buyers, or the agent representing those buyers. So I think they've got to have a little bit of knowledge of connection, database, something in order to get out to those buyers. So,
you know, I know, Bret, we've had a little bit of friction with the Asian buyers, China, especially with Donald Trump and everything. But I did hear that Hong Kong, with China going in there, they're really diversifying. They said in the Wall Street Journal that a lot of you know, citizens from Hong Kong are now going to England and LA, and they're buying up real estate. Have you received any offers on any of your properties from, you know, Hong Kong as of late, or Asia?
Yeah, not from an international buyer, as I would describe it.
Okay.
I mean, there's some buyers of Asian descent or Indian descent that have bought products that I've had out there for sale. I have heard that there is a lot of that going on in Vancouver, Canada, for instance, and maybe in so maybe that hasn't gotten to just, I haven't been involved with that, but that is an influence going on. Yes. So Asian buyers in the United States.
And tonight's the big debate. We'll see what happens between Trump and Biden.
That's right. There's all the investors and everything else.
But it's gonna be good entertainment. I think this will be as big as the Super Bowl. My neighbors are coming over, and we're gonna make tacos and guacamole and have some beers while we watch the debate. We should be fun.
There we go. It is supposed to get huge ratings tonight, so we'll see.
It's gonna be fireworks for sure. So tell us about this 7-Eleven deal. So what is the primary lease term? What type of lease? Where is it located? What's the NOI?
So triple net lease, 15 years.
Okay.
So 7-Eleven, typically with 7-Eleven, we do a 15-year lease, triple net. So, I mean, the tenant's paying the property taxes directly. They're maintaining the landscaping, the parking lot, the building. They're taking care of it. So it's a nice investment for a real estate investor. The one that we have marketing right now is in Mount Vernon, Washington. That's a great small town. It's about 50 minutes north of Seattle. So it's out of downtown Seattle, but it's in a growing part of Washington. It is right on I-5. I mean, if you drive by on I-5, you can see the property from I-5. So that's nice. It's well located on a nice retail corridor between a Super Walmart and a Lowe's home center. Right next door is an IHOP on one side and a Panda Express with a drive-through on the other side. So you've got some good commercial co-tenants, so to speak, or support in that corridor. So we're expecting it to, right now we've got it listed at a 4 3/4 cap.
Okay.
And the NOI is about $271,000 a year, and I think that puts it at about 5.7 million. But I don't have the flyer in front of me. All of that's off the top of my head.
Off the top of your head, I'll take your word for it. No, that sounds. I wanted to ask you, how long does it take to put one of these developments together, a 7-Eleven development? From the time you go in, do you normally take down the land? Do you tie up the land? And from the time you purchase the land, getting C of O, how long does it normally take to do a development like this?
I think most people would be very surprised about how long it takes. So we really try to get when we put the property under contract to purchase, we try to work out a flexible, I would call a purchase agreement, where the landowner will work with us until we get a building permit. But it is a long process, and so that's difficult to do. But so we'll put we'll talk to 7-Eleven about the site. If they like it, meaning the regional real estate manager likes it, we'll put it under contract. Then with 7-Eleven, there's a process where the state real estate manager for 7-Eleven has to support the site. The regional West Coast manager has to like the site. They talk with operations about it. Then they present it to a real estate committee down near Dallas, Texas. Then it gets a thumbs up from the committee down there. Then we go to lease. And even though we've done leases, it still takes a while to work through the lease. So meanwhile, while we're working on the leases, then you're doing all your investigative reports. You're doing soil studies, environmental studies, surveys, that kind of thing. And 7-Eleven wants to see all those. So we've got to share all those with 7-Eleven. You start drawing your plans, and the plans go through, you get a couple drafts, 2 or 3 drafts of plans, because 7-Eleven has a peer architect or engineer that reviews them. They're all done to specs. The floor plan is scrutinized is what I should say, to make sure that the floor plan is very, very efficient and they're able to stock all the products they want. Then we're going into permits with the city. And so the permitting process with the city, most cities, it takes about 6 months to get your permit. Now, we're doing all this work before we apply for the permits. So, even if you're on lightning speed, it takes you 9 months. And most of the time it's a year, because you put the property under contract, takes you a couple months to go through the real estate committee approval. Then you're doing drawings, pre-apps with the city. You're doing your drawings, you're submitting your drawings with an application. And so that whole process takes, honestly, takes 9 to 12 months to get your permit. Okay. Then 6 months to construct. Okay. Then about another month for 7-Eleven to stock, hire, get ready to open, then you open. So it's most of the time it's
1.5 to 2
process.
years.
It's like
1.5 to 2 years, right? From the time you start construction to get it done? Yes. Would that be a fair statement?
That would be a fair statement.
That would be a fair statement.
COVID had slowed us down. So, we recently constructed 2 7-Elevens in Washington, one in Mount Vernon and another one. And both of those took at least 3 months longer because the state shut it down for a while. Then, we applied to the state and said, well, 7-Eleven's an essential business. They let us go back to work. Then the city said, wait a minute, we want to make sure you're working safe. And even though we were allowed to go back to work, the electricians would be on site. They couldn't be on site at the same time as the plumbers. And so it was really a drawn out process.
Brad, do you sell yours before they're completed? Do you start to sell them before they have C of O?
Well, we start marketing, but it would be difficult to close because I think investment buyers want to have some assurance that they're going to get a C of O if they don't have one, that rent has started or will start. Certainly we as the developer for an investor ourselves have to take care of the punch list items for 7-Eleven, make sure it's all buttoned up and just right. So it would be difficult. I wouldn't mind selling it, and certainly we could work it out so that
yours are fee simple, right? They're not ground leases. If a buyer buys this one in Mount Vernon, they get the dirt and the building, correct? It's fee simple.
That is absolutely correct. Okay. Yeah.
So let's say that somebody wants to submit an offer. How far? So for Mount Vernon, you do have C of O?
We have C, it's open now. We have CVO, so that one's not a problem at all.
Okay, and so you have 15 years remaining. So what would you want any agents, any buyers they should submit to Sean Mack? Is that correct? Any LOIs?
That's absolutely correct.
And Sean, so do you know Sean's telephone so they can call him?
Yes, so let me look that up quick. I should know that off the top of my head, right?
I'll put Sean's information on the screen at this point,
right.
so everybody has Sean's info. There'll probably be a lot of agents watching this. What's the buy side commission?
2%.
So 2% to the buy side. Okay. Agents, they always want to know what they're going to make on these deals.
That's right. Okay. So they probably read that first. So.
So Sean's your guy. They should contact Sean if they want to make an LOI on the property. Right. So are you selling any Starbucks at this time? Do you have any new Starbucks?
Well, we just sold one. We're working on a couple other sites, but we don't have another Starbucks for sale at this time. So, okay. So not at this time.
How is it ICSC, because they're not having any events in New York, probably maybe not even in Vegas. How is that influencing you? Is it making a difference in negotiating leases with the tenants, your leasing agents? Is there any kind of difference with your development, getting development done? I think going to the city and these other things. How's COVID affecting you?
Well, so on the development side, I think with our existing tenants that we've got a relationship with, we've done business with before, I wouldn't say it's that different. I do think it's good to see your client face to face. So I miss that. I still try to, I've had Zoom meetings and Microsoft team meetings and that sort of thing with some of the tenants in order to try to keep that connection. It is even more difficult with the cities to go through the entitlement process because most of the cities are doing Zoom meetings and that sort of thing. And sometimes there's technical difficulties and other problems. So that's interesting, One thing that I hope comes out of this, that a lot of the planners and cities are, not very supportive of restaurants with drive-throughs. They're not very supportive of drive-throughs. And I hope that COVID changes their perspective on that a little bit, because really the restaurants that have done the best through COVID are the ones with drive-throughs. And some of the restaurants really have not been able to open at all unless they do have a drive. They had to figure out how to do curbside service and everything. And even so, that they didn't do as well as restaurants with a drive-through. So I hope the cities maybe change.
What is their apprehension? Why don't they they just feel that it's something that degrades the city? Why are they against, or the stack of cars going through the drive-through? What is it they don't like about drive-throughs?
Well, it is a few things. So one thing is, some of them have it's a conscientious objection to contributing to greenhouse gases. But I think a lot of the cars going through the drive-throughs are going to be electric. They're going to be hybrids. A lot of the newer cars, when you stop at a stop sign or a light, they turn off. Same thing for when you're going through the drive-through. So I hope that sort of goes away, because I think that, to me, that's a non-issue. That's nice that you're doing something, but there are, the automobile's evolving, and so there might be all electric cars going through the drive-through one day. Who knows? The other thing is it's a what do I want to call it? It's a perspective on being pedestrian friendly. The cities, the studies they've done, and I'm not an expert on planning out a city, being a city planner, but a lot of the planners have read information and studies that in order to keep your city vibrant, it needs to be walkable. And so they want their communities to be walkable and pedestrian friendly. Now, I think you can do that and still have drive-throughs. I don't think it's one or the other. I think cities have gotten a little too much off to the side that, if we have a drive-through, we're not walkable. Well, no, and I think Starbucks is a great example of that, because a lot of people walk to a Starbucks and go through the drive-through. People meet at a Starbucks for job interviews. They meet for first dates. They meet socially. Let's go catch up with a friend. And a lot of times they're walking. They walk from to their nearby Starbucks, but you can drive to them too. And so I think that's a good balance. And I hope that cities are more receptive to that sort of attitude.
Let's talk about some of the new tenants out there that we're seeing that seem to be expanding and doing a great job. Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, Dutch Brothers. Are any of these in your sights to try to do some development for, Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, Dutch Brothers? Are those, have you heard about them? Have you tried to make contact with somebody there to try to do?
Well, certainly. I mean, it's interesting to see because of Starbucks success, there are a number of coffee concepts that are doing drive-throughs. I mean, there's Dutch Brothers and Gravity Coffee and Human Bean and, gosh, I think Black Rifle and Bigfoot. I mean, it's pretty impressive to see the list of coffee.
I've never even heard of those.
I mean,
the only one I know is Dutch Brothers.
How about, well, that's good
word
Dutch
for it.
Brothers then.
Sounds like there's quite a lot of them there. But go ahead. Sorry.
So we'll probably run across those as we go. It becomes a challenge. There's so many 7-Elevens and there's so many Starbucks that it's hard to find, fill-in locations, so to speak, so they don't cannibalize each other. The Chick-fil-A's and the Popeyes, I'd love to do some Popeyes. I've certainly come close on a couple occasions, and I've got to work harder to maybe make that connection and develop that new business. Chick-fil-A is a little harder for me. They like to own their locations, and so that's tougher for you and me to do a build to suit and then sell it.
But they're doing owner occupied. They're kind of like Walmart. They're not doing many build to suits.
Well, they did an interesting concept. I mean, so for there's Burger King franchisees that own 200 or 300 Burger Kings. So the Chick-fil-A concept is it's very difficult to own more than one. And so if you're the operator, you're the franchisee, and Chick-fil-A makes you. And so Chick-fil-A owns the real estate and the building, and they make it's very hard to get, but they make it easier. If you're chosen to be that franchisee, it's a very low entry franchise fee because Chick-fil-A corporate owns everything. I mean, they own the equipment, but then you work a deal as the franchisee to operate that store, and if you operate it successfully, you do really well because it's the sales are $2.5 million or $3 million, and if you're making 15% off that, you're doing well, as a store operator. But that's why Chick-fil-A owns and controls the real estate in the building, so to speak. So that makes it more difficult for me as a developer versus the typical franchisee owns a number of locations, and so I can come to a build to suit and help them expand as a franchisee. And even if they are doing the restaurant package or the FF&E, I can take care of everything else for them. So what geographic area, Bret, are you? Do you see a lot of growth? Do you see a lot of growth in Utah still? You're in Washington State, right? You're doing that. Are there any other areas of the country that you feel are promising? So Jay and I are focusing on Utah, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. We end up doing more in Oregon and Washington because the population's bigger up there. But all four of those states are growing, and I think COVID may even spur more growth in Utah and Idaho because there's some people that are able to work remotely, and they're moving out to smaller markets that where there isn't as much urban congestion, I'll call it.
Beautiful states. I drove from California all the way to Idaho. Just beautiful. Utah and Idaho were the best. I went to Vegas, and you saw a big difference when you got to Idaho and Utah. It was beautiful. Everything was clean. Vegas wasn't as nice, I gotta say. For cleanliness and niceness, Idaho and Utah are beautiful states. And every owner over here in California, we're dealing with this proposition in 15. They may want to move their money to Idaho and Utah. They may, want to buy some of your deals because California is going through a lot of problems with these property taxes and other things. So
And the rest of us are watching that. I mean, we're really watching that because that can be, I'm sure that the state as a whole sees big shopping center, the big anchor, and they can handle this somehow. But usually there's a lot of small businesses that are have their store or whatever located next to the anchor, and they're just going to get killed by those increases.
Do you know anything about Proposition 15? I just did Net Lease TV on that, and then I was on the Andrea Kay show, which is on AM and FM here in San Diego.
The kill shot is coming in the form of Proposition 15. Haven't heard of it? Don't know what it's about? Well, you're about to learn right now. And I reached out to a friend of mine, haven't had him on the show in a long, long time, but he's here to tell you guys what Proposition 15 is and what it means for small business owners and consumers. And it's Chris Marabella. He's the president of Marabella Commercial Finance, and he's got a YouTube channel called Net Lease TV, and he joins me now. Hi, Chris. Welcome back to the Andrea Kay Show.
How you doing? It's good to catch up with you again. And yes, I'm a little envious of Florida. I heard that the restaurants are opening up over there. I wished it was the same situation here in California.
Yeah.
So anyway, most recently on our show, Net Lease TV, we had the opportunity to interview Vicki Hammond of Cortland Properties out of Tustin. And Vicki kind of got me up to speed on the Proposition 15. Currently, the structure of property taxes for retail. Now, this is only going to affect retail and industrial properties. It won't affect apartments, and I don't think it's going to affect the houses. Currently, all retail and industrial properties are assessed when purchased. So when you purchase a property, it gets assessed. And the way it's set up right now, there's a 2% ceiling on how much a property can go up in value per year to determine the property tax, which is normally computed at about 1% of the value. And it's been that way for approximately 42 years when Proposition 13 was passed.
Let me stop you right there. Okay, so Proposition 13, which I think was in 1978, that was meant to, to minimize property tax increases, and that was supposed to include both commercial and residential. And it's been a promise, and it's been something that could provide consistency to property owners, both commercial and residential. And the left has been trying to do away with Proposition 13 ever since it was passed in 1978. I want to make sure I understand what's happening here. Proposition 15 splits it. It takes the commercial properties, according to you, I guess, retail and industrial, and removes the Proposition 13 protections on increases, correct?
Exactly. So what can happen, which is kind of crazy, is every 3 years now, if this was to pass, let's hope it doesn't, you definitely want to vote no on Proposition 15. But if it did pass, let's say the type of properties we deal in, like Jack in the Box or Starbucks, let's say you own 3 Jack in the Boxes at $2 million each. That's $6 million. What would happen? Anything over $3 million, that's kind of the floor, will be reassessed every 3 years, and there won't be any of those ceilings or caps.
So if they can
keep reassessing you every 3 years, which most of your retail properties are triple net. So the tenant takes care of the taxes, the property taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance. So what do you think is going to happen, Andrea? The bill is basically going to go to the tenant and the businesses. And so the businesses are going to charge more for their products.
Right.
And guess who's going to end up paying the bill? You are. It's basically a tax on people when they go into the restaurant, when they go to the grocery store. It's just a tax that's going to be passed on to consumers and everybody here in California if this Proposition 15 passes.
Well, and that's assuming, excuse me for interrupting, that's assuming the businesses can actually reopen, because before they can even pass this increased cost to the consumer, they've got to be able to open up to reopen their doors, which is next to impossible for most to do. Even the ones that have been, quote, reopened are only at 10% capacity. They're limping along, and now they're going to be expected to absorb this kind of increase before they can even pass it along to the consumers. And oh, by the way, the consumers right now are in the food bank lines along with the small business owners. This is absolutely insanity of what is going on in the state of California, brought to you by the same people. We got Governor Newsom the other day not doing wanting to ban gas, using cars. I mean, it's like, yeah, how quickly can I get to Florida? Chris Marabella, because this is insane.
Here's the ramifications of this, Andrea. Like Brooks Brothers, they closed down Sears, I think, in North County, San Diego, in the mall off of in Escondido. That's closed now. Brooks Brothers went down. They got bought out by Simon. J.C. Penney went down. They got bought out by the big mall operator Simon. Soup Plantation's gone. I heard Islands is gone, or they're downscaling.
Yep.
So the other ramification of this is you're not going to have as many shopping options. So, again, what do you value? Do you value shopping? There's certain things that, Americans have always valued, and they're going away.
Well,
and basically, so it's kind of like traditions, the family's kind of gone away. Now our shopping options are going to go away. Most recently, I went in to try to buy a suit. You can't even hardly get a suit anymore because there's no places to shop. And
this
that's
is just
one of the ramifications of this thing. The other ramification is landlords and business owners will be selling their properties. They'll be selling their businesses, and they'll be heading east.
Yep.
They'll go to states that are more friendly as far as property taxes. And nobody will be investing in California. So,
and then excuse me for interrupting.
Jobs. It's just a total Armageddon for the economy. And so definitely your listeners have to vote no on Proposition 15. Now, your listeners can see the full interview on our show, Net Lease TV, that we did on Proposition 15 with Vicki. And again, they can just Google Net Lease TV and watch the entire episode that we did on our show.
Great. With Chris Marabella, I encourage everybody to do that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Andrea.
Have a good night.
Thank you for having me on again. And vote no on Proposition 15.
Yeah, I absolutely.
But so Proposition 15 will only affect industrial retail, and I think maybe land. But as it stands, we're assessed when somebody buys a commercial property. And what this would do is, and then we have some ceilings,
right?
Basically like 1% to 2% ceilings that it can't go up every certain amount of time. Well, this would remove the ceilings, and anything over 3 million every 3 years they'll reassess. So, it could get rather expensive if you own now, the way somebody explained it to me in one of my other interviews, if you watch Net Lease TV, they said if the person owns 3 Jack in the Boxes, and I guess in California at 2 million each, they're over the 3 million threshold. So then they would get reassessed every 3 years. So I don't know, there's a lot of ambiguity with the Proposition 15. I think from everybody I've talked to, what they're scared of is this could set a precedence, and then they could try to do the same thing with apartments and residential houses and other things. And the main thing we said on the interview is that, as 90% of these landlords, they're triple net. So really, the tenant's going to end up paying the increases in the property taxes, and they're going to pass that on to the consumers. So ultimately, there's going to be just inflations at restaurants, grocery stores, if this Proposition 15 goes through. So we're definitely saying no to Proposition 15.
Well, we're backing you there, because you're right. And even some of the, I would call it discount retailers, whatever. I mean, the TJ Maxxes of the world markets that are trying to do stuff for reasonable cost, they're going to go to the landlord and say, hey, we're important for your center, so we need a cap on that. Well, then it hurts the landlord because rent goes down, or if he is able to pass it on, then you're right, it causes inflation. It's going to, if every 3 years they can't really plan out what their rent is as a percentage of cost. It's really makes it tough on a business. I'm right there with you.
Definitely vote no on Proposition 15. You know, the one thing I said in the interview is that they ought to make Amazon a little bit more accountable. They are making a ton of money throughout COVID. Maybe, you know, if anybody's going to pay more taxes, you know, retail has really been subject to a lot of, you know, unfairness as far as equitable compared to Amazon. Not to just harp on Amazon, but it's got to be a little bit equitable, you know. It can't just be taxes are on street retail.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, so Bret, how can somebody, you know, they can contact you to Sean Mack if they want to make an offer, but if somebody has any questions, maybe some tenants that want to expand, they want to make how would somebody contact you?
So, you know, my email, easiest is by email. It's Bret with 1 T at foxterra.biz, and you're welcome to put that up on your screen.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd happy to. Over the years now, I've done everything from small single tenant coffee drive-through on less than a half acre up to shopping centers of 20 acres in size. So I'd certainly be interested in working with good tenants and that want to expand and have a good track record of that. Enjoy the people I work with, and we've done a good job for them. So glad to work with others.
Of all the developers, Bret, I think you're one of the most experienced I've dealt with. You really know your stuff. And
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that.
I want to spend, you know, I tell my interns and our processor, Melanie, we want to go for quality over quantity. You know, I would love to come up to Utah and spend some time with you. I'd either drive up or fly up one of these days and just spend more time with you. And I appreciate you, you know, giving us a look for the financing on these 7-Eleven deals and whatever you're developing. And thanks again for being on Net Lease TV. And good luck with selling the 7-Eleven there in Mount Vernon. And we'll definitely be in touch. Thanks again, Bret, for being on Net Lease TV. Thing, I want to see comments below. Hopefully anybody seeing this video feed will comment below. We'd love to hear your questions for Bret, for me. So definitely comment below. And I want you to like Net Lease TV. Click that little like Net Lease TV. And are you going to subscribe to Net Lease TV so you get our emails whenever we do these vlogs?
Absolutely, Chris. We're going to subscribe, and and Jason White's going to subscribe. Okay, we'll get some other coworkers. We'll add some subscriptions in there.
We want as many people subscribe. Please subscribe to Net Lease TV and get the word out that we would love you to subscribe. That way, whenever we do a new video feed, you're going to get an email, so you'll be able to watch, you know, Bret and agents and anything related to Net Lease. Thanks again, Bret.
All right. Thanks, Chris.